I want to, of course, introduce the folks that are with us behind the podium. Many members of the Reentry Reform Task Force that are with us. First and foremost, I want to welcome Chairwoman Penny Stringfield, the Chairwoman of the Task Force, who is with us. As you all well know, or you should know by now, Penny and I have a long-standing friendship and relationship that dates back years. I think that throughout the years we've done significant work together, and we've left the community a little bit better than we found it. Nancy Williams, Commissioner of DSS, Hannah Driscoll and members of her team. Hannah is the Director of Program Services for the Public Defender's Office. Brianna Eldridge, who you will hear from a little bit later, the Forensic Services Program Coordinator for the Office of the Sheriff. Michelle O'Hara, who is our new discharge planner. And Rasheen Charles Leggett, Cornell Academic Reentry Services Advocate, Justice through Code alumni through Columbia University. Rasheen is right behind me. Rasheen is also a member of the Reentry Reform Task Force. Of course, our Undersheriff, Sam Davis, is with us, Major Robert Charpinski, Sergeant Josh Turboss, and Director of Community Engagement and Recruitment, Charles Woody. Today we are joined together to discuss the 2023 progress report, specifically with respect to the Corrections Division. In December of 2022, the month after I was elected, we formed the Reentry Reform Advisory Group. We have been meeting monthly since December of 2022, and the advisory group consists of local healthcare workers, workforce folks, social services professionals, community advocates, previously incarcerated individuals, and much of the work that we will talk about today came from the work that the Reentry Reform Group has been doing since December of 22. I'm going to ask the chairwoman to step up and offer some thoughts. Penny?
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. As the sheriff said, we have had many years of relationship and friendship. We started working together to bring better opiate treatment to our community after I lost my son to an overdose. And after we were done with that, I knew that one of the things that I really wanted to see worked on was the jail. I'm very proud to have been part of what we've done over the last 13 months. Look forward to what we're going to continue to do. Several nights ago, Undersheriff and I spoke to the local NAACP group. I'd like to do more of that. I want the community to know and understand, be aware, and also ask questions and concerns. One of the things I'm most proud of is I have found this not to be in any way, shape, or form a kill the messenger group. We are all members of the community, and when we come together monthly to meet, there are things that we bring to the sheriff. So again, I'm so proud of this group. It's been, I think that we've had 14 meetings now, and we've accomplished more than I ever expected.
Thank you. So before I jump into to the success, I just want a couple of thank yous, if I may. I want to publicly thank both County Executive Jason Garner and Chairman Dan Reynolds and every member of the Broome County Legislature, Republican and Democrat alike, for all of their help over the last 13 months. Much of the success, much of the things that we've been able to accomplish with respect to added position or additional funding would have never happened had it not been for the partnership with both the county executive as well as members of the legislature, including the chairman. I would say this, I want to start here before we jump into the slides. The Undersheriff and I have the distinct pleasure of serving this community in an elected capacity. I have the pleasure of being Broome County's 58th sheriff. The success that we talk about today does not belong to me. It doesn't belong to the Undersheriff. The success, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, belongs to the hardworking men and women who show up here every single day, day after day, and serve so selflessly from the Corrections Division. It belongs to our administrative team. It belongs to members who are behind me of the Reentry Reform Task Force, and it belongs to members of the community that have stepped up and decided to be part of the change that we all desire. One of the most important things we did this year was to hire Major Robert Charpinski. For many years, the Corrections Division had lacked significant leadership. It had lacked someone that was willing to not only support the men and women who put the uniform on every day, but also support the incarcerated individuals. So when we assumed office in January, of course, there was a jail administrator. We knew that we wanted to go in a different direction. We had that opportunity several months into 2023. We started the search for a new jail administrator, and I can unequivocally say, as I've said many times in the past, that we picked the right person. We picked the right person in Major Charpinski because he's a natural-born leader. He leads from the front, and in a very short period of time, he has garnered the respect and the support from the men and women who work here. That is incredibly important. That was incredibly important to the undersheriff and I. And I'll say this, one of the most important things he's done since he's hit the ground here is that he's overseen a very comprehensive review of the policy manual associated with the division. Most importantly, we've made significant updates to the use of force policy, the de-escalation policy, and the duty to intervene policy. My man Chuck Woody is with us. Chuck is a dear friend of mine. We were former partners back in the day when we used to work on the streets together. Charles came to us as the Director of Community Engagement and Recruitment. Incredibly important position in 2023. You all know that when we assumed office, we had a staffing deficit, 38 members. I am happy to say, because of the effort of Charles and so many others, we have recruited, trained, and retained 31 new corrections officers for the division. We hired the largest and most diverse class of new corrections officers in the history of the Broome County Sheriff's Office. We heard, many of you know better than I, that there was significant litigation, there was ongoing dispute prior to our arrival with respect to visitation, lengthy, expensive litigation that was happening between my predecessor and others in the community. When we arrived, there were 15 hours of visitation that were available a week. I am very proud to say that today there are over 47 hours that are available on any given week for family members to come and see their loved ones. We stood up a new corrections criminal investigations team. We've spoke about that a little bit. There are 2 full-time investigators. There's a supervisor. There is another investigator who is a canine handler. And of course, yes, we have a dog who is assigned to the facility. We have found that the dog has been a benefit to not only the agency, but members of the community as well. Talk a little bit about the numbers that you've seen. So the investigations team stood up in full capacity around June, maybe late June. You see the numbers from 2022. You have seen significant growth since June of 2023 with respect to the arrests that they're making. Do we necessarily want to arrest people? Not if we don't have to, but I think this sheds a light on the issues that happen within the 4 walls of the correctional facility, and I think it shines a light on the fact that we indeed needed a full contingent of people who could address these issues as they were happening. When we arrived here in January, there were 0 programmatic opportunities for the incarcerated. I'm pleased to stand here today, thanks to the good work of the folks standing behind me and so many others that I'll get to in a minute. There are over 30 hours of weekly programming of services that are available to the incarcerated individuals. And none of that would be possible if it weren't for the folks that are on the board. The Broome County Council of Churches, Mothers and Babies, Addiction Center of Broome County, RISE, CVAC, Cornell Cooperative Extension, Inside Out, League of Women Voters. And as you can see, we're offering what I would describe as programs that will help the incarcerated get back on their feet and be productive members when they reenter society. Probably one of my happiest moments, the new corrections garden. We built 8 raised bed gardens this year, totally maintained by the incarcerated. The trustees that are going out and maintaining the gardens, dozens of baskets of fresh produce that we were able to donate to Child this year, not on my behalf, not on the undersheriff's behalf, but on the incarcerated's behalf. Manny would say to me, "You want to give the peppers and the squash today?" And I said, "No, I don't. I want you to go and get the trustees that grew it and maintain the gardens, and they would make that donation." We Our intention is to expand the garden. We're going to double that in size in 2024. We're going to plant some potatoes, as you can see in the pictures, in the courtyard, if you will. There's lots of green space that we intend to use. I would be remiss if I didn't thank my friends in labor, the Binghamton Oneonta Building Trades Council and the carpenters. When I called them, they stepped up in a very big way, came up here and built the raised bed gardens, not by themselves, but also including the incarcerated to do that. We introduced a new learning initiative. It's called LEARN. It's called Life Skills Education Accountability for Reentry Navigation. It is a specific program that is administered through the tablets within the facility. It's over 60 hours of education and self-improvement training on everyone's tablets. The incarcerated, of course, have access. This is a policy change that we made. It used to be you only had access to your tablets during very specific hours during the day. We removed that barrier and allowed access to tablets throughout the course of the day, including the evenings, even if, with the exception of when they're doing count. We're in the process of adding over 10,000 book titles in 2024 to the tablets. This slide makes me incredibly happy. We started LEARN in November of 2023. In that very short period of time, over 400 incarcerated individuals have taken advantage of the online learning platform and have completed 4,800 individual training courses during that short period of time. We are, you've heard me talk about this, we're holding the medical, mental health, and substance use disorder treatment providers accountable. We did a very comprehensive audit. We did it internally, but then we asked the Broome County Department of Audit and Control to do that. Prime Care Medical is the medical provider. We found during that audit that there was an overpayment of $257,000 with respect to the staff that Prime Care was not providing the Office of the Sheriff. We held them accountable. We were transparent about that audit, and I'm pleased to say that Prime Care Medical over the course of the next 12 months will be repaying $257,874. A lot of conversation about medically assisted treatment. I'll get to some important slides in just a moment. Thank you to the Commissioner and her amazing team. We commissioned a very high-level audit of the medical services. We wanted to assess and analyze the needs of the incarcerated population. We wanted to make sure that those that were providing those services were meeting state regulations and doing everything they were supposed to be doing within the four corners of the law. And then we compared that to what was actually being provided. We're meeting weekly. We've expanded, of course, the people who sit at the table. We're meeting weekly with the medical providers and the command staff to make sure that the medical provider is doing what they're supposed to be doing. And of course, we added, based on the findings of the audit that we commissioned with Commissioner Williams and her team, we added a new position of Forensic Services Program Coordinator to examine workflows, to identify barriers to treatment, and to tear those barriers down. With that, Bree, if you'd be so kind, just...
Good morning, everybody. Brianna Eldridge, and I am the Forensic Service Program Coordinator here at the Broome County Jail. In this position, it's my priority to ensure all incarcerated persons are receiving the proper care and services needed in accordance with the state and commission's regulations. I coordinate with all the vendors providing a variety of services within the jail to improve interoperability and address any barriers that may arise. I work closely with Sheriff Akshar and his administrative team to identify what resources are needed, where they are needed, and the workflows involved in creating an efficient system of care. In addition to reduced recidivism, the goal of these improvements is to provide our incarcerated population with as many resources as we can, in hopes that they will use them in the community to maintain the progress that they've made while here in the jail. Thank you.
Thank you, Bree. Position is super important to us, and I have no issue saying this publicly. I know what I want outcomes to be. Sometimes you must rely on others to help you navigate very complex systems, and that's what we did in hiring Brianna. She brought her expertise to the table. She's working very closely with the commissioner's staff to ensure that we are navigating those bureaucracies and those organizations that have contracts with this facility to make sure that we're holding every single person who does business within those walls accountable. Again, more on the mat. We despite what some of you may have read, you may have seen, every single incarcerated individual that enters this facility that is seeking medically assisted treatment, they have access to that. It's something that we demand. We demanded it on day one, and as you'll see in the coming slides, there is far more participation in the medically assisted treatment program today than there ever has been in the history of this office. So we are working with Prime Care Medical to hire additional staff members, specifically another CASAC, to do some of the work with respect to people who are coming in. And then before every discharge, and Michelle O'Hara is with us. She is our full-time discharge planner. That is a change that we made in recent months. We took discharge planning away from Prime Care Medical, and we brought discharge planning in-house. And that has proven to be incredibly beneficial to the office because, again, Michelle is clearly aligned with not only what my expectations are as the sheriff, but what the expectations of our group are. Ensuring that people, when they're getting released, specifically if they're in the MAP program, there's a continuity of care when they leave the facility. Slide is incredibly important. I think it speaks volumes. In 2022, there were only 191 participants in the medically assisted treatment program. I'm proud to say that in 2023, over 429 participants, and there, of course, is a breakdown to show you that, in fact, we are offering several different options for folks based on their specific needs. This, friends, you could take a guess. I'm going to tell you what it is. It's mechanically separated chicken. So moving on from the medically assisted treatment program, this, prior to our arrival, is what the incarcerated ate. When I got here, I said there is no way in hell that we are going to continue to feed the incarcerated population mechanically separated chicken. I brought that picture with me to the legislature when I went and asked them for more money, and I asked one simple question: would you eat this? Not a single person said yes, and we were able to increase the budget significantly with respect to food quality. So in 2024, we've added about $240,000 to the food budget. It was something that was desperately needed, clearly, and we are exceeding what the commission says with respect to nutritional standards. It used to be that you could not, you weren't getting vegetables, you weren't getting fruit. We changed that. The incarcerated individuals now eat all real meat. They have access to fruit and they have access to vegetables. Really kind of a no-brainer in our minds, but for whatever reason, this issue was not addressed in the previous administration, but I'm proud to say that with working with the corrections staff and the legislature and the county executive, we've changed that. We've reformed the inmate request and grievance system. Sergeant Josh Turboss is with us, somebody that is in a new position, the grievance sergeant, grievance supervisor. Could not be happier with Josh's appointment there. The undersheriff and I had an opportunity to meet Sergeant Turboss very early on in our tenure. I just want to take a moment to say this. I have been hard-pressed to find another person in this building that is as dedicated as Sergeant Turboss, who really seeks every day to leave this place better than he found it, and to demand that those around him work at a very high and exceptional level. So I am, we promoted Sergeant Turboss many months ago. He had to go to the night shift. Sorry about that. But I am incredibly happy to say that as of just a couple of weeks ago, Sergeant Turboss came back to days, and he's filling the new role of the supervisor who will oversee all grievances and all classifications. Now, the form is important because prior to our arrival, you used to fill out, if you had a grievance or a complaint, you used to fill out a little time. I'm going to leave it here, okay, guys? Used to fill out a little form, and nobody knew what happened with that form. Now, every form is assigned to a housing unit. It goes in numerical order, and there is accountability with every single request form that is filled out by the incarcerated individuals. And then every morning, believe it or not, the undersheriff and I, the major, and now the sergeant will review those request forms to ensure that everything is happening according to what the commission expects, and as well as what we expect as an administration. Now, I don't know why this didn't happen, but this is a reality. The incarcerated individuals prior to our arrival didn't have easy access to hygiene products, clean underwear, very simple fixes, but we were able to fix those things. We've added fitness equipment to all of the housing units, with the exception of IMAX and D. So the incarcerated individuals have an opportunity to exercise while they're incarcerated, and it was a pretty intense conversation by members of the administration, members of the union, even the incarcerated. So we involved them. We involved everybody really in the conversation. We were measured about it, but we landed on this particular piece of equipment, and as you can see, this very big fella is enjoying it immensely. Believe it or not, I think this picture sums up what we experienced on day one. This is reflective of the culture. It's reflective of the morale when the undersheriff and I arrived here. You know, to think that we would expect our staff to work and sit in these type of chairs 8, 12, 16 hours a day, you know, is really unacceptable. But that picture sums up what we arrived to on January 1st in 2023. So we're going to continue to focus, keep our focus on successful reentry navigation. And again, my thanks to Michelle O'Hare, who stepped up and is working in a discharge planner. Every person who is released from here used to be, it was very hard to get access to identification. Every person who leaves here, if they don't have an identification, we're giving them one free of charge to help them navigate the system when they're getting out. Bree will continue to do her work. She'll continue to help Michelle, and we are ensuring that unscheduled releases have access to all of their immediate needs. As we look to 2024, we're going to a new partnership with the Addiction Center of Broome County. The ACBC will be sending us 2 staff members, a clinician and a peer advocate, to help us through those suffering with substance use disorder. We are expanding our partnership with the Southern Tier AIDS program. That is important because we were the recipient of opioid settlement funds for 2024, $150,000. $100,000 of that will be going to hire another reentry coordinator that the Southern Tier AIDS program oversees. And then the other $50,000 combined with some other grant funding that we have, we're going to hire another full-time discharge planner, which we believe is in the best interest of the incarcerated in the organization. And probably one of the greatest challenges for me as the sheriff is how do we track recidivism? We're implementing all of these new policies and all of these new programs thanks to the good work of the people behind me. But how do we know that we are in fact making a difference? So we will be internally trying to find the best way to track those numbers and really drill into what the recidivism numbers look like for us specifically in Broome County. DCGS, the Division of Criminal Justice Services, keeps statistics on everything with the exception of recidivism, sadly. So we're going to do that internally. We're implementing a new gang intelligence unit. Again, Sergeant Turboss, I'll say this publicly, the foremost expert in this space. So in addition to his duties that I described earlier, he'll be standing up the gang intelligence unit, working with other partners, law enforcement partners regionally, but also people within the walls. We're adding commissary vending machines to every housing unit, so the incarcerated have access to commissary twice a week. We will be including these vending machines in every housing unit, so they have access to commissary 7 days a week. And we are in the midst of completing a facility-wide security camera upgrade for increased safety and security. We're adding 50 new body cameras to the confines of the correctional facility. We're effectively tripling the number of body cameras that are inside the facility. Every CERT team member, think of a SWAT team with the police. You're all familiar with that. The CERT team is the very same type of unit, but they function within the walls. Every CERT team member is going to have a camera. And most importantly, every camera that we deploy will have its own license. You're all familiar with some litigation that happened prior to our arrival. One of the biggest takeaways from that particular litigation was that body camera footage seemed to have disappeared. And again, I just want to emphasize that that was prior to our arrival. The way that we are deploying the cameras, every camera will have their own license, and all of the data and the footage that is recorded will be stored in something that's called evidence.com. You can't get rid of that. So I think we're implementing important policy to ensure that all of that data and that footage that we're collecting is kept in perpetuity. So this picture is meaningful to me because you know, at the end of the day, if you think about that picture I showed you of the chairs, that was what we arrived to. And that picture that I'm showing you today, that is where we are today. For a very long time, a very dark cloud hung over this building. It hung over the hardworking men and women who work here every single day in corrections and in law enforcement. You know, I would say that today is a new day, but, you know, January 1st, 2023 was really the new day. And this picture is important to me because it reflects what today is. We are, in fact, changing a culture. We are, in fact, changing the perception of the Office of the Sheriff. We're changing the perception of the Corrections Division, and we're doing that because we're dedicated to that. It's something that I pledged as I campaigned for this office. It's something that I pledged to the people that we would do. It would remain at the forefront of our mind. And I would say this, that as I stand before you today, nothing in this picture is, it's not possible if it weren't for, it's not because of me. It's not because of the undersheriff. It's because of the people who stand behind me. It's because of the people in the community that have stood up and said, let us help. We want to help you change the culture. And it is because of the hardworking men and women of the division who, for once in their careers, feel seen. They feel acknowledged, and they feel supported. And that, for me, it's kind of low-hanging fruit. Pretty simple to support the people who show up every single day and work very hard on behalf of the people. Now, with that comes accountability, right, and transparency. So the staff knows that. We set expectations very early on, and we are holding the staff to what those expectations are. Have we had some ups and downs? We absolutely have, but I'm very proud to say that as I stand before you today, I don't have to show you a picture of broken chairs. I can show you this picture, where there are smiles not only on the face of the staff, but there are smiles on the faces of the incarcerated. There are smiles on the faces of the community members, and that to me is incredibly important. With that, I'll take your questions.